I've always loved hard NES games, but they didn't always love me back. Like training with a brutal kung fu master, I had to earn that love. The 8-bit days did not shy away from a serious challenge. Many of these games were hard, Nintendo hard. We cut our teeth on some of the most brutal games, and living to tell the tale was a badge of honor. This video is my journey through not only the hardest, but also my favorite gaming experiences on the NES. Games with something special that no matter how they punished me, I came back for more. These are the games that were so good that even the struggle, or especially the struggle, remains a cherished memory.
Look at him. He's making the jump. It's his second time through and he hasn't even taken a hit yet. He's a wizard.
So he can play Ninja Gaiden, so what?
So what? Really, Savage? Not everyone could just play Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden! Hey!
And I'll admit, watching The Wizard in '89 made me want to become a Ninja Gaiden master. The game is amazing, still my favorite NES platforming series of all time, making you feel like a real ninja slicing your way through levels. But Ninja Gaiden wasn't for the faint of heart.
They tried and failed?
They tried and died.
Oh, and I did die, and then I died, and then I died, and then I died again, and I kept freaking dying until I got it right. Practicing Ninja Gaiden took so much training, I may as well have just become a real ninja. Ninja Gaiden isn't just a game, it's a dance with death. You don't play Ninja Gaiden, you dance through it. And just like dancing, if you screw up and lose your rhythm, you die. Enemies respawn mercilessly, and you have to keep moving forward to stay in the flow. Oh, and don't stop to look at those pretty birds. Oh no, cause these be ninja birds, and they are the most powerful enemy in the game. Not the assassins, the damn birds. Here's what the cover of Ninja Gaiden should have looked like, because that's what you're gonna see when the birds are kicking your ass. There's an army of these respawning flying mofos just waiting to get a piece of that sweet ninja ass. And believe me, they will have it. Come on! So what kept me going? First off, the cutscenes. Oh god, cutscenes. In 1988, this was state-of-the-art. 4K HDR, Dolby Cinema amazeballs. I just couldn't wait to beat the next level and see what happened next. And it was all worth it for that happy ending. No, not that one. Oh, and the chiptunes in this game have got to be some of the best 8-bit compositions ever produced. If I wasn't playing the game, they were playing in my mind, and I dreamt of swooping ninja birds night after night. Once I learned to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, finally making it to the end stage. It won't be easy, but I got this, right? Wrong, bitch. Stage 6 Ninja Gaiden is no lose, straight up snuffleupagus. If you want to be a ninja master, this level will make you straight cry. It triples in difficulty and is what makes the game infamous. Flying ninjas over bottomless pits? Check. Evil enemy placement over bottomless pits? Check. Endlessly spawning, overwhelming, incoming enemies from every direction over bottomless pits? Check. And after endless attempts, hours of deaths, finally getting lucky and somehow making it to the boss. I got not one, but count 'em, 3 bosses in a row to defeat. And if that wasn't bad enough, guess what happens when you die? Just once, on any of them, the game throws you all the way back to the beginning of the level. I had to start over and do it all again, and again and again. This level chewed me up and spit me out like a couple of butt monkeys, fingering their last banana nut cream cake. And I was the cream cake. There was only one solution to my agony. Get the spin slash, and keep the spin slash. The most OP weapon in the game that tears through enemies and bosses like a grape ape on ecstasy. Problem is, you have to memorize every single item drop and know which ones to avoid so you don't accidentally replace it with something else. And it eats through Ninpo like crazy, so you have to grab all the right power-ups and save it for the key moments you'll need most. We didn't know that despawning trick, where you could just disappear this cross-throwing granny gobbler and waltz your way over to the ladder. Having the spin slash was the only legit way to not end up at the bottom of this pit, with old Dingleberry Donkey waiting to show you his eggplant collection. Okay, I got this. Keep moving, avoid the birds. Perfect jump timing. Avoid the birds, stay in rhythm. Avoid those goddamn birds! And don't stop or turn around. Keep that spin slash, and get ready to rip dear old dad a new one when I reach the boss fight. Then prepare for the game to take away my spin slash after the cutscene, to fight the second form, by far the hardest boss in the game, with only my sword in one hand and my balls in the other. Before save states and rewinds existed, imagine the torture of playing this level over and over. I'll say it now and I'll say it again. Beware of 8-bit NES games that give unlimited continues. There's a reason, because you're gonna need them. But for those of us that persevered and completed the gruesome gauntlet of 3, we were treated to one heck of an ending of an otherwise incredible game, including, spoiler alert, the absolute cheesiest pickup line ever uttered by a Master Ninja. Seriously, Tecmo? More importantly, I had bragging rights across the entire schoolyard. And the chicks? Nah, come on. I was a nerd. They didn't give a shit about me beating the game. Only real ninjas like Ryu get the chicks. But hey, I could still play the game and, pretend. Oh, and stop calling it Ninja Gaiden. The birds hate it when you do that. And we don't want to piss them off, do we? Ghosts and Goblins isn't just hard, it's straight evil. So addicting and evil that it should have been illegal, at least in 1985. You think either of the 16-bit ghouls and ghosts were hard? Please. I waltzed through them like driving Miss Daisy. After what it took to finish this NES port, Ghosts and Goblins almost became my white whale, with the countless times it almost broke me. 10 years old, playing into the night only to fail yet again. Not to mention the nightmares it gave me afterward, with that eerie music and those chilling sound effects, likely programmed by the devil itself. I just knew that if I let this game beat me, it'd haunt me till the day I died. The maddening thing about Goblins is how it kept luring me back in, because I loved the evil theme, the atmosphere and music, and the monsters. It never failed to thrill and get my heart pumping the closer I came to clearing a hard section, right before it pulled the rug out from under me, no doubt to the endless amusement of the programmers. That's what it felt like every time the game unveiled a new and creative way to screw me. Like the game was designed by Satan, and I was in a battle for my gaming soul. Except it wasn't programmed by Satan, but by the next worst thing. My Chronics? Oh god, no wonder. Now it all makes sense. Responsible for some of the jankiest NES ports of all time. It's a testament to how cool the original game and design by Capcom was, that even my Chronics couldn't completely ruin it. But oh, did they ever try. Enemies can spawn from directly beneath you, or often right on top of you as you're moving, usually at the worst times. Like, surprise! Another is how they forced that terrible flame weapon onto you. Oh, and they knew it sucked too. That's why they did it. Sometimes even in ways where you can't avoid it and are forced to choke it down. Or just die on purpose to avoid it. Often the better option. Now, the flame weapon gets a bad rap because it's so slow and cumbersome to use, making the stages extra hard, but it is offset by being quite powerful for bosses. Of course, the only all-around viable weapon is the knife. Fast, high DPS. It makes the game that much less impossible. The lance is slow and unviable, and don't get me started on the axe. It's possibly worse than the flame and near useless. Playing the game again, it absolutely refused to give me the knife. No matter how I tried, I was stuck with the damn lance. At least until this dragon boss, which reminded me it's impossible to kill with it. I hammered on this Falcor wannabe for over a minute and a half and it refused to die. So the clock helped out and killed me instead. That's right, don't crap on the flame. It's near mandatory for some of the bosses. It makes quick work of the dragon if you happen to not have the knife, which I didn't. This last section has to be played strategically and perfectly, or it's insta-death. Avoiding all the enemies that don't need to be fought. Baiting this red Aramer down to your platform to kill it before heading up to continue. Oh my god, is that the knife? Literally the end of the game, and now it gives it to me? Well, heck yeah. Better late than never, I guess. Least I can make mincemeat of anything left in my way, and this boss. Oh baby, where you been all my life? Who's next? This weapon has not effect? Try again? Get a Why the hell did you give me the knife then? Okay, so maybe I knew it was coming this time. But as a kid, I lost my shit. Barely kept it together to start playing this beastly final stage again. Oh, at least I had the knife now. Thanks a lot. Oh, but it gets worse. I remember it like it was yesterday. One of the most insidious things that my Chronics did with this port is the continue screen. You see, after running out of lives, it brings you to the first menu, and the option to continue is 2 clicks down. That's right, not the first option so you can just rage mash start and try again. No, you gotta be super careful to click down 2 times, then select continue. Well, guess who wasn't super careful? Cause he was so damn angry at having to redo the level that when he died, he started mashing that start button out of anger. Let's just say I lost my gaming privileges for a few days, and had lots of time to stew over how I was going to murder this game when I could play it again. And you know what? Didn't get much easier, and after finally making it to the boss, with the right weapon mind you, you're greeted with one of the greatest trolling of players in the history of gaming. Getting sent back to the beginning of the game and having to beat it again. Only this time, even harder and more ridiculous than the first. Remember when I said, beware of NES games that give unlimited continues? Yeah, poster child. While I can look back at my personal hell, decades later with some humor and nostalgia, I admit that by the time I finally claimed victory over this beast of a game, there was no love lost between us. I vowed to never put myself through that again, for any game, which of course I promptly broke once the salt wore off. But I kept my promise for this one, as these old scars cut real deep. Never picking it up with the intention to beat it again, at least until this video. Was it still as brutal and evil as I remembered? You bet your red devil ass it was. When it comes to hard games, no other genre rules the brutal roost like shmups, or what we called them in the 8-bit days, shooters. And no surprise, I played the heck out of them. Hudson Soft was one of my favorite early developers, not only responsible for the super fun Star Soldier series on both Nintendo and PC Engine, but pioneers of video game competitions, or what they called caravans. Oh man, did I ever wish I was a kid living in Japan and able to jump into those events and compete. Star Force, Star Soldier, Hector 87, they all kicked my ass and I loved every second of it. The incredible Hudson music and fast, addicting gameplay that kept me coming back over and over. In my mind, Hudson could do no wrong. And then, this happened. Dino Ricky is the shooting game that'll bring even the most battle-hardened shmup experts to their knees. by taking Hudson's usual fast-paced shooting prowess and combining it with punishing precision platforming. Bet you can't say that 5 times fast before the game wipes the floor with you. Imagine playing the super fun but frustratingly hard original Adventure Island, one of the toughest platformers on the system, courtesy of Hudson Soft, only having to shoot down enemies that come flying at your face while you're doing it. Hudson really got me with this one. I already played many of their other games and was a kid who loved dinosaurs. Okay, what 80s kid didn't love dinosaurs? No, real dinosaurs. So when I saw the box art, looked at the back, and saw it was a shooter and a platformer with dinosaurs, sold. And you know what? The game is freaking charming as heck. The opening stage music is fantastic. Typical Hudson. The graphics are colorful, the enemies are varied, and you're a pudgy Encino man, making funny faces whenever you get smacked. First impressions? I loved it. If there's one thing that Hudson knew how to make, it was a fast, hectic shooting game. And then came the platforming. You've heard of 7-minute abs. Well, Dino Ricky is 7-minute sphincter. Because if you manage to beat this game, you'll be squeezing lemons completely hands-free with your butthole alone, after all the puckering you've been doing to beat it. Which is a good thing, because your hands will be frozen up from the carpal tunnel you develop bashing away at the fire button for hours on end. Better have that butt paste on standby before picking this one up. Or better yet, my official Shmup Junkie thumb chom at only $8.99. Operators are standing by. Hudson is lucky I didn't disown them at 12 years old for this one, because the platforming controls are absolute trash and near impossible to maneuver. That speed will also make you so twitchy on platforms it's almost impossible not to fall off, which you'll definitely need to survive the onslaught of enemies making a beeline for your face. It's like playing Frogger, only if Frogger was high on crack. And if it made you move with the scrolling platforms, instead of just standing still on them like a normal person. Cause you know, screw physics. The only upside to being powered down and slow is it makes the platforming actually manageable in spots. The sheer amount of luck, finger gymnastics, and work required just to stand on a moving platform is absurd. At least in the early going, it lets you focus on just the platforming, but toward the end of the game, it'll start chucking crazy fast enemies at you while you're trying to make jumps, or avoid sand traps or flames, all of which are insta-death. But Dino Ricky hides a secret that makes the game a whole lot better.
He's a caveman.
You can bypass almost all of these ridiculous platforming segments. Every level, and often right before the sections, there's a hidden bird icon that lets you fly. Hold down the jump button and turn the game into a traditional shooter. Almost like someone smart at Hudson played the game, realized how ridiculous it was, and made them add the power-up. Be careful though, because just one hit and you're back on the ground, or more often than not, falling to your death. But now, the game is totally beatable, and the final stage can actually be routed quite nicely, even though it seems impossible at first. You can also find rare icons that turn you super buff, overpowered, and into a roided up caveman. Make no mistake, even armed with this knowledge, Dino Ricky will kick your ass. Getting hit will power down your shot and your speed, and the ridiculously fast enemies will often swarm in and end you. But if you can manage to stay powered up through the hardest sections, and bypass the platforming with the wings, you'll find the bosses are super easy by comparison. Honestly, Dino Ricky had so much potential had they tightened up the jumping to be on par with other great overhead platformers, like Gremlins 2, a game I absolutely love by the way. It could have been up there as a favorite. Instead, I get the feeling it was very rushed, and Hudson may have been embarrassed to release it, evidenced by the game having no ending or credits of any kind, but just jumping right back to stage 1. It doesn't sound like anyone wanted to take responsibility. I'll admit, I do have a soft spot for it. At the very least, I can now make hands-free lemonade as a party trick, though for some reason, they always refuse to drink it.
No, whizzing the juice. No, but still.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
Oh boy, you ain't wrestled a cross-eyed pack mule jumping on a trampoline till you played you some Bayou Billy. It's got brawling, shooting, and driving, all to a hootin' Konami soundtrack that'll have you cutting a rug like a greased up goat. Except you can't, cause your sweetest honey, this side of a bee's nest, has been kidnapped. No more bobbing for crawdads till you get her back. So you reach for that foot-long blade and hit the swamp, cause ain't nobody gonna keep you from grinding the corn on a hot summer night with your honey. You think I'm joking with all this, but you should see the manual to the game. A bunch of that stuff is actually in it. I clearly remember renting this game as a kid and laughing my ass off with a friend reading it. It literally says that you were raised by a family of gators. It also says that rescuing her will be anything but easy, and it sure got that right. But you know what? I still have a good time with Bayou Billy after all these years, even if it'll make you madder than a swamp rat getting baptized. Partly because he struts around like his shit don't stink, to some really catchy music, while beating down goons with an ugly stick. First thing you want to do is the practice modes, because it'll not only train you how to play each of the game types, but reward you with super useful items at the end, buffing you up before even getting into the adventure. Your punch in this game is about as useless as a one-legged pole dancer, so stick with your kicks, and better yet, jump kicks, until you can grab an ugly stick and start handing out beatdowns. And yes, that's what the manual actually calls it, except you're the one that'll be getting the beatdown if you go right at enemies, because they're relentless, and can hand out some ass whoopings no less than you. So the trick in Billy is figuring out all the cheats and strategies, like cheesing the gators by standing in the right spot, and simply using the right weapons and tactics with each enemy type. The first stage is actually one of the hardest in the game, so once you can lick it, I'll bet you can stick it. Ugly stick it, that is. There's a boss on stage 3 that's a real bastard, and you better have the knife on you to cheese him. Even so, I barely scraped by, and almost ended up using the meatball I had saved from the practice buff. The shooting stages are the easiest. Just don't miss the health and bullet pickups, because if you run out of ammo, you die. But if you did the training, you'll get a full bullet refill if you run out. It's the driving stages that first wrecked us all, ate away our lives, and made the game feel impossible. And that's because your Jeep controls like a drunk raccoon in a corn maze, while the road is full of rocks and side posts that are insta-death. What made it so hard for me is that it was fun to go fast, so I'd scream down that highway like a possum in heat. It just begs you to keep the pedal to the metal and tear ass down the road. But barreling through the corners at full speed without hitting the posts is like a three-legged warthog walking a tightrope. So guess what? Simply slowing down, big time, and taking the driving carefully makes it all so much easier. Running out of time only takes one life away, gives you a new clock, and lets you keep going. I'll take that penalty over dying on a stupid rock or pole any day, and it's the secret to the driving, even if it sucks some of the fun out of it. Once you're back brawling, it's all about getting the best weapon in the game, the whippersnapper. It makes most of the fighting going forward much easier, letting you stun-lock enemies from a distance, and employ other cheating bastard tactics to your advantage. The final stage has you fight kind of a mini-boss and his two hounds, that I kid you not, is called Swamp Gas Charlie. Take him out easy with the gun, before he can unleash his swamp ass on you. We're those poor dogs that probably have to sleep next to the bastard. And keep on cruising. Make sure you hold on to the bulletproof vest before you get to the big bad Gordon, who's a shifty but pretty darn easy boss. Except, he isn't the actual boss. It's Iganuk here that are a royal pain in the ass. Fighting him head on is about as fruitless as a jockstrap on a eunuch. You gotta evade him like a sissy girl, getting in a quick whip every so often and hope they don't smash you. And they take a ton of hits, to the point where you wonder if they're even taking damage. But they are. And once one meathead finally goes down, the last is only a matter of time. And finally, oh baby, back in your arms where she belongs. Oh Billy, is that a foot-long blade in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? That blade's for killing, honey. My ugly stick, that's for fun. Legend has it, Irem wanted to make a game so hard, with a story so metal, they could call it Holy Shit. Okay, maybe not that last part, but playing Holy Diver is like riding the tiger down to the midnight sea. If you played and loved Castlevania, but thought, damn, this game is way too easy, then Holy Diver is for you. If you're a metalhead and dig the idea of a game loosely based on Dio's album of the same name, then Holy Diver is definitely for you. It's the 666th year of the world of magic, and the Black Slayer, Demon King, has created a world of darkness and weakened the power of King Crimson. The main character, Ronnie, entrusted his two infant sons, Randy and Zack, to his servant Ozzy. As Randy, you set out to battle the Black Slayer. So yeah, the devs may have been some pretty big metalheads. They were also obviously servants of Satan, because nobody else would unleash this kind of hell onto kids to play on their Nintendo. At least Japanese kids, because it never made it to the US. So I never got to play it until I was older and could import it. Lucky for me, because playing Holy Diver was like the worst kind of smash mouth football, a game that makes you fight for every single inch of progress. Nothing is easy. Every step forward and checkpoint is earned. Enemies are either tanky as hell or a pain in the ass, and just one wrong or unlucky move will seal your fate. It's a battle of attrition, with your versatile and powerful character in one corner and a relentless onslaught of enemies and devious level designs in the other. That's one thing I do love about Holy Diver. Your character kicks ass, or at least eventually he does, as your energy and magic increase with every new level and item discovery. After a few stages, you're a complete badass, freezing time in lava, unloading powerful breaker shots, buffing yourself with protective orbs, or straight up bringing the lightning. Not to mention the moments where you transform into a freaking dragon to traverse otherwise inaccessible areas. You're a lot more maneuverable too, with a very high jump, and can change direction in midair, and every last bit of it is necessary, as the enemies are so merciless, and the pitfalls so egregious, that old Belmont would have zero chance of traversing this world. Holy Diver is beatable, but it'll beat you into a pulp, or piss you off to the point where you may not want to. There's one thing I learned to absolutely despise about Holy Diver, and what holds it back from being a classic like Castlevania or other great platformers on NES. The jump controls are unreliable. I lost count how many times I've simply walked off an edge, like an imbecile to my doom, like a lemming that blindly careens into oblivion. There are moments in the game where you literally have to make precision, last millisecond jumps at the very last pixel of a platform, just to scale your way up. While a bunch of enemies come flying at your face, of course, and it totally works. Then other times, a seemingly mundane jump with no danger in sight completely screws you into losing a life. It forces you to play with a sense of fear, not being able to trust the responsiveness of your jump. It also doesn't help that the magic switching system is kinda clunky, using the start menu to switch and the select button to swap modes, while completely stopping the flow of the action to hit the menu. And man, does this game go out of its way to brutalize you. The difficulty curve never stops ramping, and by the final stage, some of these obstacles are straight up designed to frustrate you over and over, putting you on tiny platforms with walls of bullets spewing in your direction trying to push you off. And this ridiculous jumping segment where you have to keep freezing these mini Medusas while trying to get lucky and not have the controls falter as you jump your way up, getting knocked to the bottom over and over until you finally get lucky. Irem later made an awesome platformer called Metal Storm that's one of my favorites, using a gravity mechanic to great effect, much more refined and hard, without being over the top like Holy Diver. But I tell you what, if you're hardcore enough to jump on this tiger and ride it out of the depths of the midnight sea, you'll have cleared a game that's as hard as steel. Holy Diver is the cat in blue, so you better run, 'cause it's coming for you. Working on this video reminded me of how much I loved my NES. Despite some of the games reaming me raw, I realize now it was those trials by fire that made me strong, created incredible memories, and set me up for gaming for the rest of my life. There's so many more challenging games that left a long-time impression on me, like the gory aesthetic of Abadox that kept me beating my head against the wall trying to see it through, or the super addicting timing-based gameplay of Batman, with that incredible Sunsoft music to back it up. That moment when I realized Konami's Ninja Turtles wasn't going to be the arcade brawler I expected, and it was so much harder that I'd be stuck navigating its waters for days without progress, but never gave in until I finally reached the Technodrome. I played the heck out of TNC Surf Designs, despite how janky some of it could be, simply because a vacation trip to Hawaii made me obsessed with surfing, and what California kid didn't have a skateboard? Karate Kid had me take up real martial arts from the 3rd grade, but the game was so annoying, I can't even recall if I ever saw it through. Yet I'll remember that stupid blade dodging challenge till the day I die. And of course, genre-defining games like Contra, that seemed so hard at first that we couldn't clear it without the code, yet after endless replays became a breeze to run through, and we still play regularly for the simple thrill of it. I freaking love my old Nintendo toaster, and it'll forever remain a nostalgic favorite, and I'll bet that most of you watching love it too, with your own memories and stories to tell. And that's what I want to hear, so light it up in the comments and tell me yours, because sharing these kinds of stories is what retro gaming is truly all about. I'm also a huge fan of discovering awesome new games that somehow slipped through the cracks and never made it big, but are just so good that it's a crime they're still unknown. So if you're new to the channel and haven't seen my last smash hit video that just blew up, the best run and guns you never played, you can check it out next, right here.